Let's talk about the New York Knicks. If you don't think this team is about to be a serious problem next season, you're kidding yourself. I want to talk about what I think their potential is after making the move for Mikal Bridges coming up on this episode right now.
I'm like, yeah, you see it.
Josh, Kobe Bryant is the best scorer you've ever seen.
Point forward isn't a position. Point forward is a skill.
So many people get caught up in what the ball is doing.
Now, I'm all for winning. I'm all for being competitive. But you took it to another level.
Good people, welcome to another episode of the Basketball Society podcast. My name is Martin. This is Basketball Society. If you're new here and new to the channel, make sure you subscribe on YouTube and stay tapped in for more episodes and more content from the channel. I don't think there's a more interesting storyline than the New York Knicks reuniting the Villanova core by adding Mikal Bridges. This was, to me, the most ideal move that they could have made. I know there were talks about like Paul George, even the LeBron rumors. Like there was all the talk about like they need another star, they need another high level, maybe A-level player next to Jalen Brunson, next to Julius Randle. But I think Mikal Bridges was actually the best possible scenario, more than any other player, even guys who might be considered better than him. And there are different reasons. The main reason to me is what I said already, what I think makes them the most fascinating team. I don't think we've seen an example of a national championship college team, the core of that team, get essentially transplanted over time onto the same NBA team. I don't know if we've ever seen something like this before. So it's historic and it's unprecedented. When you talk about like chemistry and unselfishness and who's the main guy, who's going to take the last shot, all those dynamics of basketball chemistry, like it's like a cheat code. Like they've jumped over that part. They've got that part down already. Again, I think they're going to have to, because like Jalen Brunson is a different player. He's on a different level now than he was in college. Mikal Bridges at a different level than he was in college. Dante DiVincenzo, so I think there's going to be just a slight adjustment in terms of getting used to who guys are now, but I don't think that's going to take long. I'm pretty sure they have. I think I saw they've had a running group chat ever since college. Like these guys have remained close and remained friends. So I just think when you look at just from a chemistry standpoint, now they make up the culture of the Knicks. And it's so crazy to me that we're essentially seeing the Villanova culture translate into the New York Knicks. Like that, to me, that in itself is just fascinating. And again, the four guys are all part of the main core. They're part of the main rotation. Two of them in Jalen and Mikal are going to be two of your best players. Dante and Josh Hart are more of rotational guys, but still very intricate to the rotation. So these guys are now making up the majority of your roster, your culture. And it's cool because the Knicks they've been building this momentum over the last couple years, getting more relevant, getting more competitive. The next step above that is starting to win more, right? They've been winning playoff series. They won 50 games last year. So winning is becoming a little more realistic. This is why I was excited for them when they got Jalen Brunson. They should be very happy with Jalen Brunson. He is going to make them better, more competitive, more dangerous, more disciplined. I truly feel Jalen Brunson will help to change the culture a little bit. It's still an uphill battle. He can't take on Giannis and Jimmy Butler and people on his own. He still needs help, but I'm glad that they can rely on him and not and again, nothing against Julius Randle either, but you need a guard, you need a lead guard who can do the kind of things that Jalen Brunson can do. I think that's a great opportunity for him. And I'm it didn't have to be Damian Lillard or Donovan Mitchell. You guys got Jalen Brunson. Did you see what he was doing in Dallas the last couple years? He's been kicking up. He's ready to be a lead guard in a culture like the Knicks, because he's a culture guy. He's a winner. I would say the same about Mikal Bridges. If you've been watching Mikal Bridges the last few years, even going back to his last year in Phoenix, he was really starting to kick up as not just a 3-and-D guy, but a higher level shot creator on the wing. And I think he showed even more of that during his time in Brooklyn. So like I said, these guys have even evolved. They've become even better versions of themselves from college, and now they get to put that together in an NBA setting. I think the timing of it couldn't be better. And again, I think Mikal Bridges, where he's at right now in his game, like, yeah, he may not be considered a KD level player, even though I did a breakdown during the season of Mikal Bridges' pull-up jump shot, which people were starting to call him baby KD in Brooklyn, because a lot of his movements and tendencies, especially with his pull-up, was starting to look very much like KD, like almost identical. But even just the way he's going about his scoring and getting to his spots on the floor, Mikal Bridges has really come along as a scorer on the wing. He can get you 20 a night. Like he's proven he can do that now. And you combine where Mikal Bridges is at with his game right now with where Jalen Brunson is at with his game right now, with how Dante DiVincenzo has come into his own as a floor spacer and three-point shooter, and the way Josh Hart has now established his identity in that Knicks system and culture. It's just fascinating how those four have now they have legitimate roles to contribute to winning with the New York Knicks. Like that storyline in itself is the most fascinating to me. And I think, again, it's just going to work chemistry-wise and balance-wise, and there won't be any kind of issues or questions about who's the guy, who takes the shot, who's 1A, who's 1B, all this stuff. Like, they're going to bypass that stuff because they already don't care. They already have a nature of friendship, unselfishness. They care about each other. And those four guys are going to set the tone for the culture of the Knicks. And it's on Tom Thibodeau, and I'm going to talk about Thibs here in a second, but it's on the coach and even just the organization, especially the other players around them, to kind of like feed into that and buy into that, you know, like make yourself a part of that. I love that you have OG Anunoby. Like now I feel like the OG move from last year that they made, I feel like that becomes even better now because he's alongside a guy in Mikal Bridges where you can play them together. They're both really good wing defenders. They're both productive on both ends. Like the fact that you have OG already and you're bringing in Mikal Bridges, they re-signed OG, and I thought that was a brilliant move because like to have two solid wing forward versatile players like that are productive on both ends, especially when Boston is the top honcho out here in the league and in the East. Those are your two best assets to me right now, Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby together. But I will say the most important player through all this in like either making this work or making this awkward and more challenging is got to be Julius Randle, because Julius Randle started to, like, he was most improved player a couple of years ago. He was really coming into his game as like kind of a primary dual forward. Like he was the best player on the Knicks a couple of years ago. Jalen Brunson comes in. He's taking more shots. He's more of the focal point. And now Mikal Bridges comes in, who, like, again, these aren't guys who, like, Mikal Bridges isn't coming in to like take up a lot of shots. He's not a volume, like, shooter like that, known as a scorer. We got to get him the ball. I think Mikal Bridges is plenty willing to be unselfish, play whatever role he needs to play depending on the game, but also based on where his game is now, he's your best wing scorer, and he deserves looks. He deserves to be treated as the best wing scorer, and so he is going to need, his double-digit shot attempts. So that takes a little bit, a little more shot attempts away from Julius Randle as a scorer, right? So I guess when I look at Julius Randle, I think the most important thing when we look at how he works with this team is what is he willing to do to kind of just offer, because I think the world of Julius Randle as a basketball player. I think he can do everything. I think he's shown he can do a little bit of everything. Now you have to be a little more selective about like when you have to be the guy to you know, it's going to be about matchups now, because now you have like Mikal Bridges gives you another asset, another weapon to create mismatch problems against other teams. And sometimes that mismatch that favors the Knicks will favor Julius Randle's matchup. So there will be, you know, now it's just, I think it's on him to be more selective and wise about like, okay, they need 20 and 10 from me tonight. Tonight, I may only need to focus on rebounding, defense, and setting good screens, getting us into the dribble handoff game. Like now I think Julius Randle, like he has a potential. I mean, they have death lineup potential. With the kind of players they have now, with Julius Randle, you could play him as kind of that Draymond Green kind of roaming 5-man. And I think he's still an intricate part of that team. They still need Julius Randle to be aggressive, to be versatile. I just think now is a chance for him to show really how he can be like that Swiss Army knife, show he can do a little bit of everything. Because now you've got Jalen Brunson's going to score the ball. Dante's shooting the ball. Mikal Bridges now is able to score the ball. When you have different guys who can make it happen, different weapons, like it's really on, you know, the guys, the players, but also the coach, of course, to make sure that we understand that we have a system where everybody eats. Like when you have enough weapons where everybody can eat, all you need is just the buy-in and like the system. The only thing that's kind of like, I don't know if I'm saying this is a championship team. I think during the season, we could see them start to play championship contender basketball. I think this group, fully healthy at times during the season, could look like a championship contender. The only thing I think could hold this team back from really getting to that level and being there legitimately, and it's nothing against Tibbs, but I do wonder if Tibbs is going to end up being the right kind of coach for this group. Like I think we've seen him make strides as far as like the offensive side of the ball, because I think when I watch teams that he's coached in the past, those are things that I felt like they were kind of lacking, was that like creativity and versatility and adaptability on offense. I think he is embracing a little more offensive basketball, a little more tempo and pace and three-point shooting, which is a credit to him. Tibbs gets a lot of flack for like running guys into the ground, playing them high minutes, you know, kind of just having that hard-nosed mentality. I do look forward to seeing what Tibbs can do to get the most out of this group. I think like the culture that he establishes in terms of that hard-nosed, gritty mindset is perfect for New York. It's been perfect for the Knicks. I think that's a big reason, that a big thing that's contributed to them becoming more competitive and getting to this point. He's been the head coach since 2020. And I think they've gotten better every year since. And he's a big part of that culture for sure. I think the more you have like a more capable team that can really do something significant. Like I think this Knicks team can win the East. I think this Knicks team can win the East. I think they have all of what they need to challenge Boston and win the East. I think Tibbs is a part of that. I think his culture and his like mentality, it gives them that grit and that competitiveness. And then I think they now with Mikal Bridges, I think they have enough talent on the floor to compete with a team like Boston. So they have a chance to me to actually win the East. Listen, people have been out there wondering if they should go after Jay Wright and just call up Jay Wright. Like, hey man, listen, I would call him just to see if he wants to be on the bench or something. I mean, it's almost like it just makes sense to at least make a phone call, at least ask the man. Like, again, I give Tibbs credit. It feels like he's been evolving and leaning more to offensive basketball, which I think you just need to do in this era of the NBA. I think he's been showing signs of doing that, but I just wonder if his system, if he's going to really be the guy, because I think when you have this kind of group, because to me, this is the next best thing, not far off from the best thing in terms of like, you know, everyone talks about having a superstar. The Knicks need another superstar. Jalen Brunson is a star. Julius Randle has been an all-star. Mikal Bridges has star-level talent. So, like, between that, there may not be a superstar on that team, but they have the next best thing They have a couple of stars, all good players, all bought in. They have two-way players. And now again, the chemistry aspect, the fact that four of your core guys are like literally best friends off the court, played together in college. Don't think we've ever seen anything like it. I think some of those elements make for, the Knicks are going to be the most fascinating team and have some of the most interesting potential of any team next season. When I look at all those things, and not to say they have a perfect situation and it's like, with the right coach, that team's winning a championship. But I do think when you look at how good they were last year, the progressions they keep making each year, the kind of guys they have, it's still a pretty young group, and I think these guys are going to be bought into Tibbs. I think what he brings is something that is needed in like championship culture. I just wonder when it comes to needing clarity, needing structure, and even some like creativity offensively when you're going up against some of these other teams with highly creative and versatile offenses. Yeah, you have the weapons and the pieces, but now I think when you have such a capable group like this, then I just start looking right to the coaching, right to the system, because that's going to determine how they look even more than what kind of players they have on the floor. Thanks for watching this episode. Make sure you leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think, and subscribe to Basketball Society for more episodes and content from the channel.